Today, my guest is Alicyn Emerick. She's the Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Greenberg Gibbons. Alicyn, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So I saw 5 days ago an exciting announcement about a promotion.
Yeah,
Congratulations. Tell
thank you so
me
much.
what was the circumstance and what does that put you in now in terms of a new reality, or is it same as usual?
Yes and no. It came as a surprise. As I mentioned earlier, I just had a beautiful little girl last year in 2024 and wasn't expecting any kind of, pivot in my role or promotion. And so to have received one in such a monumental, milestone for me. It was a great year and really excited and thankful to have been recognized by my executive team. And so this is probably a long time coming. I've been with the company over 13 years. And
Yeah.
so I've worked my way up from marketing coordinator to then manager, director, and now vice president. And so my role has shifted a little bit in that I'm more focused on supporting the company's strategic vision across the board and supporting the executive team on their initiatives. So I'm still very much, working with my team on the B2C side of things and supporting our projects and our portfolio. But now I'm also having a heavier lift in that strategy and vision for the company from a corporate standpoint.
Wow. Well, it's about time. What took them so long, Alicyn? Oh, that's awesome. Speaking about the different roles that you've maintained there and the journey that you've gone through, it's yeah, 13 years. That's wild. What have you learned about yourself as a marketing leader from the beginning to now? Is there anything that you were kind of surprised or you found it interesting in terms of how you've evolved?
Absolutely. I mean, most definitely. I started with this company when I was 22 years old. So, what was important to me back then, I think, has completely evolved since then. And so, I, personally, I think one of the biggest changes for me in my role in itself is that I've become more of a, thought leader and I lead more with the business mindset than I ever have in the past. I think when I first started, I was hyper focused on more of the consumer facing marketing, strategies and initiatives, and really boots on the ground, working the events and putting them together, and doing social media. I was a team of one at that time, and now we've grown to what is a team of three. And so, in addition to just kind of how my role has evolved, I'm now also responsible for collaborating with and mentoring two other individuals who are a part of that marketing department. So I think as a mentor, I've grown as a someone who has to delegate, which was never my strong suit when I first started. I think that's changed significantly. But I'm very thankful. I have a wonderful team, and they make it really easy on me.
I love it. Talking about the evolution towards more of a business lens and how you look through the business lens for the marketing system, why is that important to you, and what advantages does that give an organization that has a marketing system and strategy that's so nested into fundamentals of business? Like, why is that important to you? Why do you think it's powerful?
Well, I think there's, a number of reasons to cover a few of those. I feel like our business is driven on partnership. And, when it comes to the investors that are partnering with us on our different projects, it's really important that those projects be successful. So, I don't know that we really covered it before, but, I work for a commercial real estate company. We own and manage and develop shopping centers throughout the East Coast. Some of those shopping centers are large mixed-use lifestyle centers, and essentially they have a whole marketing program around them that really drives value in terms of, driving foot traffic to the center and making our tenants successful. And so all of that to say, I think that with the more knowledge and the more I can kind of tie it back to what our overall, revenue goal is for the company and what our investors are expecting to see, the stronger our strategies can be, and we can tailor our tactics to make sure that we're really driving up to that greater goal of the company and what do those metrics look like, and to keep us focused. As I mentioned before, we're a team of 3 with about 6.7 million square feet of assets under management, and so it's really important that we're prioritizing what needs to happen in order for us to meet that goal and make that mark. And so I think that having more of the business mindset of it and still balancing that, of course, with all of the other factors that come into play when you're thinking about a marketing plan, I think that has probably been the most significant.
How cool to see it from the coordinator days all the way up to understanding how it's nested in the business strategy. I think that's really the dream for most marketers, right?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it is, and I feel very lucky. I mean, because we're a smaller company doing big things, I've gotten to wear a lot of hats, and I think that's really what's helped me kind of get into this seat that I'm in now.
Yeah. So you described the B2C side of GG. I'm going to call it GG, okay?
Yeah, that's what we call it.
Okay. Tell me about the B2B side, because it serves both.
Yeah, so the B2B side, so we have a number of departments within our company, everything from you have your development team, your acquisitions team, and acquisitions could mean anything from purchasing land or maybe a dilapidated site that we're going to turn into more of a mixed use project, all the way through to something that we started a few years ago, which is our fund investment vehicle. And so we've been able to acquire several projects up and down the East Coast through that lens. And so a lot of times what's happening is we're putting together, pitch decks for maybe it's an RFP with us going after a site, or it's, fundraising for that investment vehicle. And so I'm really working closely now, more so than ever before, with our executive team and the heads of those different departments to, understand what is our mission, what is our goal, and then kind of taking everything about GG and what it is we do and the success of our projects and turning that into, a strong narrative and really helping to tell the story.
And how is the marketing function? What is it held accountable to as it relates to the business? How is it judged in terms of doing well or not performing? What's the mandate for that function?
Sure. It's interesting. I think commercial real estate in general is interesting. And I think if you talk to a lot of the different marketers across the industry, they would agree. But, it's not like we're an individual business where we have kind of that point of purchase where you can kind of show the return in a straightforward way. And so for us, I think our brand and reputation is probably number one. I think the way that we operate our shopping centers and down all the way through to the events that we throw and how successful those are, I think support the overall brand and what Greenberg Gibbons is known for. Community is really important to us. So the way that we're out there in the community and representing Greenberg Gibbons, I think, is incredibly important as well. And so, from a property standpoint, foot traffic, obviously sales, we want our tenants to be successful. Their success is our success. So if we're driving foot traffic, the end goal is that they're doing well and sales are strong. And so kind of rolling back up into, some of my recent initiatives, it's really to try to understand and show the correlation between the traffic and the sales, and prove, some of the work out there that we're doing is creating value. And then I think from the B2B side, again, that PR side of things. So, how are we sharing our story with the media? How are we taken seriously by some of the stakeholders that are in the area or that we're doing business with? And so reputation, I think, is probably key on the B2B side.
Got it. On the driving foot traffic, I would imagine that's a shared responsibility by the brands that are represented in there. They have to drive their own foot, but now you're driving foot traffic to the property holistically, right? Where they choose to eat or buy from at that point is up to them.
Correct. And there are, certain tactics and initiatives that we can, run to be able to work with said business to try to, help them specifically. So if we need to drill down to a particular tenant or category, we certainly can. But that being said, yeah, holistically, our job is to drive them to the center. It's the, business's job to have their own marketing plan in place to then be able to capitalize off of that foot traffic.
Got it. So, yourself and your two colleagues, Haley and Andrea, what would you three sort of mutually agree represents the biggest pain point right now for the marketing function, the biggest challenge, the biggest thing that keeps you guys up at night, but you're excited to work on it and improve it?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I think that consumer behavior is always changing. So I think that, and so is the retail landscape. I mean, retail is very strong right now, so we have that going for us. But I do think that when it comes to what you were talking about, the business mix, the merchandising mix at the centers, I think that we're constantly thinking about ways that with what we're given, how can we best support the project? So I'd say that's probably one. I think from another area, I think all three of us would call ourselves creatives first and foremost. And so I think we're, constantly thinking about how can we be the most creative and be the best version of ourselves when we're wearing so many hats and we're switching from, analytical to okay, now how does this ad look and does it convey what we're trying to get across in the most authentic capacity? And so I'd say finding that time and having that balance, kind of even referencing back to what I talked about earlier with prioritizing what are those goals and key metrics. And so I'd say probably that. I always joke to Kaylee and Andrea, I'll like come in and we'll be having a meeting. And I'm like, I got to tell you guys about my dream last night. I dreamt that we did this, or that so-and-so left, or, so I think that literally keeps me up at night some days.
And with some level of capacity constraint, do you and Haley and Andrea sort of rely on and work with external partners? And if so, what does that dynamic look like? How do you strike a good balance there? I guess it depends on if you do work with partners.
Yeah, we do. We do. We have a PR agency who we work with, Crosby Marketing. They're wonderful. They've been working with Greenberg Gibbons well before I got here 13 years ago, and so we have a great relationship. And so we do work with them. We occasionally will work with several other agencies as well, for creative purposes, or if there's a particular campaign that we're working on. And I think that actually, is most helpful in that when you're, especially with marketing and especially when being creative, it's great to be able to collaborate with others and get multiple perspectives on a particular campaign or, scenario. And so I think that's been great for us.
You mentioned in your journey at GG and sort of the things that have evolved for you. One of them was tied to mentorship and leadership. And what's your playbook on? I mean, every marketing leader at some point has to be considering how do I play the role of a mentor? But for you, how are you playing that game?
Yeah, I think it happened very organically. I like to think that the very first time that I was a mentor to someone was when I was actually serving in college. I the restaurant I was working at made me a coach. And so anytime that a, new person started, I had the task of, training them and getting them up to speed on everything there. So I think that's kind of where it was planted. And then when I joined Greenberg Gibbons, I was very lucky to have a boss who became my biggest mentor, and a very supportive, person at that. And then in addition to that, along the way, I've gained several other mentors in my circle. So I've been very lucky to have those particular individuals looking out for me in my career. And I would like to say that a lot of it is, a thanks to them, as they put me in certain situations that maybe I otherwise wouldn't have found myself in. And because of that, I was pushed to get involved with our parent association, ICSC, at a very young age, starting in the industry, probably younger than most people started back in when I was beginning in 2012. Now they have such a great program that there's a lot of young people in the industry, which is really cool. Because I got involved with ICSC, there were a number of opportunities along the way to get involved with, certain networking groups and things of that nature. And so I found myself just naturally, connecting with others and just doing whatever I could to be kind of a helping hand to them. And then as, our department grew within our company, and, we had one other that worked with us, and now it's Kaylee and Andrea. And I think that I just find myself wanting to give them the same respect and support that I received from my, earlier boss and mentor. And so I think that's kind of how I segued into it. And then since I've taken on the responsibility of spearheading our summer internship program, and I speak at different, events or on panels to young students. And it's just something I'm very passionate about. I feel like I could talk to them forever, and just, things that maybe I would have never thought of when I was their age looking to start my career.
You're busy. Why does that fill your cup? Why are you drawn to development of people and networking and support and mentorship and leadership? Like there must be a reason that pulls you.
That's a great question. I don't know that I've ever truly paused to think about it, other than I like people. I like learning about people. I like people's stories. And I feel like it's, with the networking piece of it, I think that, for me, it's not so much, especially as a marketer in our industry, I'm not business development. There really is no real, skin in the game for me to be out there networking with people per se, other than I just truly enjoy the relationships. And so I don't know, I guess it's just learning about people's story. I've always been fascinated by it. And I think it's fun to see the good in people and want to cheer them on. And so,
Yeah, I love it. Tell us about the culture of your team, the three-person team. And from what our first conversation, it sounds like it's a beautiful culture. But tell us about it and sort of how it's formed, and what does that allow you guys as a team of three to accomplish as compared to maybe other teams that don't have that.
Yeah. So I always joke I never like to answer for them. They might have a completely different
I
viewpoint.
hate Alicyn.
We were just in an interview with a potential intern, and they asked the question, like, what is it that you like about your job? And I always let them go first, and I love listening to what they say. And so I think that the culture here at GG, just in general, I think is really strong. And so I think that really helps kind of foster, that positive environment from the very beginning. But, for me, I have fun with it. Like I said, I like people. I want to make it a comfortable experience. I want to play to, my team's strengths as we're, going through day to day. I want them to feel like if they're in the weeds or, just feeling burnt out, that we take a step back and we think about, again, what are we truly prioritizing here? Do you need to be taken off this project? Can I help? And I guess I've just always had the philosophy from the beginning. And again, I think this might tie back to working in a smaller company setting all my life, but I believe in helping each other out. If one person's in the weeds, you're there for them. You're gonna just pause on what you're doing for a second, see how you can help them get over the line, because one day that's gonna come back around, and I'm gonna be in the weeds, and I'm gonna need their help. And so I've always believed in kind of fostering that kind of culture. It's not about stepping over each other. I think that's a very toxic work culture. So I tried to reiterate that again and again to them. We sit down quarterly to go over goals, but also, them personally, and how are they feeling? Am I supporting them in their careers? And so I really try to just be kind of an open book to them. And I want to make it fun. I want to come to work and have fun. So I want them to do the same. And I think at the end of the day, though, it really does come down to luck. I think I'm just very lucky that the three of us get along so well together, because, it's one thing when you have two people and then you have a third person. And so, we're not a larger team. So in some ways it's easier, in some ways it's more difficult, because if there was one person who didn't get along. So again, I think it's just, and maybe it's the hiring process and the values that we have here at GG and my personal values, but I'm just very lucky that they make it super easy and that we all just get along really well. And I think they like working with me.
How do you deal with tough conversations?
Yeah, so I would say that's definitely an area that I've grown significantly in since beginning my career. Giving and taking feedback wasn't always my strong suit. I tend to be a people pleaser, so I think that for the longest time I saw it as a negative. I have a president that I've had many conversations with, and he said something to me that really resonated, and it completely flipped my entire perspective on feedback, which he said, feedback is a gift. And obviously there's more to that, but once I kind of stopped being defensive and I was able to accept it myself, I think that it gave me the skills to be able to share that. And as I would share with Kaylee, Andrea, or whoever else, if I'm giving you feedback, it's not malicious. It's to actually, better your career so that one day you're taking off, whether it's with us or someone else. And so I share with them that, again, I'm not coming from like, a bad place with this. This is, you're doing a great job on all of these things. But at the end of the day, like, there's a couple areas that, you can excel in. And I'm only sharing it with you because I want to see you excel.
That's awesome. Since you're too good at taking feedback, can I share a recommendation based on something?
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
a great, just a small thing that was offered to me by a coach I was working with. And when that scenario where you said, hey, you're doing this, this, and this, good, but is that word but? And
Yes.
so replace but with and. So you're doing this, this, and this, good. And what I'd like to, what I'd like to see improve is this. And I think about that a lot of times when I'm in conversations similar, where it's like that but word it's so loaded, right?
Yeah.
And anyways,
No, I like that. I like
what
that.
what would you be willing to confirm as being your Achilles heel as a marketing leader?
Um, I would say that's a great question. I would say that for me, do you mind actually rephrasing that
Yeah.
just to truly get down to, and I don't go off into a tangent?
No, no, no. So uh, I think as marketing leaders, we have certain superpowers that we're very confident with. We use them all the time because they come so naturally, and they've been a big part of our career growth. And there's always one or two things that we know deep down are our weakest area that we're really wanting to improve on, but we can acknowledge that they are our Achilles heel as a marketing leader. I'm curious if anything comes to mind for you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would probably have to say, and I don't know if this is necessarily my biggest weakness. I have no problem, getting up in front of a group and presenting or anything like that. But I think that actually use this as a perfect example. I could go off into a tangent at any minute, and the way that my brain works, I'll go a million miles per hour. So one of the biggest pieces of feedback that I've received is just kind of tailoring my presentation and kind of bringing it home. So when I'm up there, making sure that I'm getting across the points and I'm not losing myself in the story, because I think how I talk naturally, if I'm at lunch with friends, we're just like a million miles per minute and I'll speak really fast and all of this. So I think my presentation skills and just kind of the way I deliver my message and my point, I think can be stronger. And so it's really interesting. One of the leadership networks that I'm a part of, they had a guest speaker come on, Holly Cohen, and one of the things she talked about was kind of having the 3 points at the beginning of the presentation and tying everything back to those 3 points. And that's something that's helped me significantly going forward. So something I'm currently working on at the moment.
I love it. For you and your team, and I'd like you to leave us with this. If for the three of you, if you could kind of close your eyes and imagine the end of the year comes around, what does the good news story sound like for the marketing function and its impact on the aggressive growth seemingly of GG?
I mean, I think for us, it is going to be that we, had a good year in terms of traffic and sales. I think one of the things we're closely focused on, as we've been previous to 2025, but knowing that we are growing as a company and that we now have the AI software to be able to track visits and confidently tell our story. It's to be able to say that traffic increased 3% this year across our portfolio. So that's something that we're hyper focused on right now, and I think that otherwise it's just really focusing on maybe a couple core projects that are in our portfolio and getting to be as creative as possible on those assets and seeing them turn around.
Let's imagine you're talking to someone in these mentorship groups or scenarios you find yourselves in. This is someone external from GG. And let's pretend that they are a marketing coordinator, kind of fresh out of school, and they have aspirations to play the game you played. So, coordinator, manager, director, VP. What are some of the things you might share with them in terms of how do you lay the right tracks down to fulfill that vision if that's what they want to do?
Yeah, great question. I would have to say, I guess there's a couple points I would make. The first one is to say yes. Always say yes. If you aren't even, I guess, if you think you're not versed in something or you're not familiar enough, it's okay to ask questions, but I would say yes first, and then you figure it out later. Whether you're going to, ask a mentor, whether you're going to do your research on it, be self-taught. I would say just say yes, because honestly, that's how I received a lot of the different opportunities and responsibilities. And I think that each one of those have come together to be able to, propel my career forward and get me noticed. For example, as the most recent, case, I could have said no to really going down that B2B route. I could have said, no, I'm comfortable. I'm going to stay here. And that's totally okay if someone chooses that. But if you do want to, get to that next level, you do have to have that business mindset. And so being ready to kind of step into new territory and maybe not always doing the same thing, I think is super important too. But I tell the girls, I've told others in the industry, just saying yes, I think is super critical to that. I think networking does help. I think it helps get your name out there. I mean, as they say, it's not about who you know; it's about who knows you.
Yeah.
And so I do think that that helps significantly as well. And then just those relationships, you oftentimes will get different perspectives and different advice from. And I think that all of that kind of curates a better opportunity for you to learn. And then the last thing that I would say is wanting to learn at the end of the day. I mean, I've never stopped learning. I mean, in marketing, it's constantly, it's ever changing, and you have to stay up on the latest trends, on the latest technology, on the latest methods, and just what's going on in our world, and having that touch point. And so I'd say wanting to learn. And so I listen to podcasts. I read white papers. I do my own research. We're lucky enough to have some software I can do that. And so I think it's just really important to want to learn and want to grow.
I love it. I always get very feel very happy and excited when marketing leaders win, and you're clearly winning. I know you're a humble person, but I love the way you're playing the game. I love sort of the emphasis you put on people and mentorship and giving when you are busy. So for all of those reasons and more, Alicyn, I really appreciate you, and thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, of course. Well, like I said, thank you for having me. This was fun, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Awesome.